for session 4 of I'll Have It God's Way. Was it difficult for you to work on your definition of quality of life? Until I started researching this topic in 2010, I never thought hard about what I now call the essential stuff of my day. Clinicians call some of the things on my list ADL, or activities of daily living. By taking time to think and fill in the blanks, I hope it'll help you define what quality of life means to you as you prepare to make your leaving this earth a worship experience. Now you're ready to create the most important part of your advanced care plan. You'll now choose someone to speak for you if you become frail or seriously ill or unable to speak for yourself. Spoiler alert. You'll learn I do not recommend you choose your spouse or your child. Listen up now and be ready to think outside the box. Let's go back to Tampa. Welcome back. And by now, I hope you're seeing the value in doing a few simple, easy things to prepare for a time in your life when you may not be able to make your own decisions. The payoff for this small investment now is absolutely huge in terms of your comfort and peace of mind. So, what's the final step you need to take so you can live the rest of your life free from worry? Step 4 is choose a proxy. And why? Who's going to do for you what I did for my mom? Who will ask the hard question? Who will seek truth from the very complex 21st century healthcare system? Who will be your Hattie? At least those are the questions I hope you're asking yourself. But I've worked with enough people to know that you may be instead saying, well, why do I have to think ahead? Why don't doctors just do what they do best? When would a highly trained group of physicians at a respected institution not know what to do with us? Why do I have to tell them what to do? Well, here's why. Because the Patient Self-Determination Act was passed into law on November 5th, 1990. The law is built on the idea of informed consent. This law means that you and you alone have the right to direct your own care, and physicians can't do anything to you without your permission. The formal document most used to provide direction is called an advance directive. The advance directive has 2 parts, a living will and a durable power of attorney for health care. Part 2, the durable power of attorney for health care, is more important than Part 1 because the typical living will template uses words like terminal, irreversible, incurable, and these are legal words and are too fuzzy and are often ignored by medical providers. Here's the thing, you don't actually need to spend money on an attorney, but you do have to spend a little time preparing your instructions. In order to help you with this, I've included a way to do this in the program materials, and all you have to do is fill in the blanks. This will give you the only document you really need. So once you've got this valuable tool, you can relax. If you don't provide instruction and name a proxy, you can get caught up in the standard practice of modern medicine. For example, if you can't talk to the doctor, what does the doctor do since he or she can't do anything without getting permission? Well, here's the catch. Your arrival in a hospital or clinic is giving permission. Someone brought you or called 911, and that's saying to the professionals who work there that you want them to do what they do. You want the doctors to keep you alive. And today, there are many things they can do. And this is the reason so many of us are dying in the ICU. In my case, the doctors will do all those things they're taught to do until my proxy, my Hattie, shows up. And it'll be the same for you if you follow the steps I'm giving you here today. And it's not just me saying this. There's data to support the fact we all need a proxy. And here it is. About 85% of people die after chronic illness, and up to half of them cannot make decisions when close to death. So, yes, you need a proxy, or by other names, a surrogate, a durable power of attorney for healthcare, or a healthcare agent. Most of us have not done this very simple thing. We've not named a proxy for healthcare decisions, and by extension, we've not provided clear direction to our physician, proxy, friends, and family. You may think you've done this because you have a living will, and that you've taken care of this, but not so. Unfortunately, the typical living will does not provide clarity. The template most people use is a cookie cutter, and as I said, too generic and general. Frankly, most of us haven't even thought about not being able to speak for ourselves. I know it's not pleasant, but the hard truth is most of us will not be able to. If you can't, I promise you, what follows is a lot of confusion and struggle around end of life. The solution is to simply choose a proxy now. Find your Hattie. While physicians and all the institutions they work in have to comply with the law, which compels them to do everything they know to keep us alive, we have been ignoring the law. But now that you and I know about this law, it's time for us to do our part. Those of us who do not take personal responsibility are every day putting millions of caregivers, doctors, and nurses and social workers into what they officially call moral distress. Moral distress occurs when a healthcare professional knows the right thing to do, but is not allowed to do it. Remember, doctors do not make end-of-life care decisions for you. You do. In my research over the last 5 years, I've attended many conferences, seminars, read dozens of books, and hundreds of articles on this topic, only to discover that Pogo was right. If we want a sweet, gentle death, we have met the enemy, and the enemy is us. We might want to blame our children, our spouses, our doctors, the advancements in medicine, having too many choices, but we can't exempt ourselves from personal responsibility to make choices sooner than later. And I'll say this again. We all think it's too soon to talk about and think about our death, but the facts are in. While you may think it's too soon, soon it becomes too late. And when it's too late, guess what? Others do what they want for you, which may not at all be what you want. A few hours of learning and thinking, followed by a few minutes of writing, will ensure you have what you want. Dozens of people have told me, oh, everybody knows I don't want to be kept alive on machines. Oh, my children know, no machines. No. Well, Medicare will pay over $50 billion every year to doctors and hospitals for the last 2 months of patients' lives. This kind of money is not being spent on keeping us comfortable. It's being spent on extreme measures that include machines to keep us alive. So apparently, Medicare didn't get your memo. The dollars being spent prove that we might say we want a peaceful, comfy, pain-free death surrounded by friends and family. Our behavior says we want everything done to keep us alive, come hell or high water. It's clear. We say one thing, then demand another, or our family makes the demands because we have not made it clear to them that we want a peaceful, gentle, low-tech passing. Just think if the Prime Minister of Israel, Ariel Sharon, had named a proxy who was a trusted friend. This proxy could have prevented his sons from doing what they did. Ariel Sharon went into a coma due to a stroke on January 4th, 2006. His collapse was so complete that the doctors at Hadassah University Hospital in Jerusalem advised his family that he should be allowed a peaceful death. But his sons didn't listen to the doctors. Why did the sons have the power to speak for their father? Because if we don't name a proxy, the law typically defaults to family, and they were his closest family at the time of his stroke. Doctors were not allowed to do what they thought best. The sons threw the doctors into moral distress, which I just talked about earlier. The sons made the demand, and advanced medicine kept Ariel Sharon alive on a mattress grave for 8 years. He had a feeding tube, was treated for pressure sores, blood clots, and pneumonia that are a constant threat to comatose patients. Does that sound like something you want for you? It's been said that when someone is dying, there is no such thing as a functional family. And this happened with my mom. When she was dying, it wasn't that we were fighting, it was that my dad was not himself. He couldn't function as we always expected him to. So our family system lost its equilibrium, and the rest of us were just confused. My mom was physically debilitated, and my dad was emotionally debilitated. In his beautiful book, A Grief Observed, C.S. Lewis wrote, he described the death of his wife as an amputation. And this was my dad. As Mom was dying, he felt as if he was losing an arm, or a leg. We all need someone to speak for us, like I did for my mom. So, how do you choose that person? Legally, any responsible person in your life who's over 18 years of age can be your proxy. That person may be a spouse, child, other family member, or it may be a close friend or the adult child of someone you're close to. You could choose a young minister, a neighbor, your attorney, your CPA, a cousin, the spouse of a cousin, the spouse of your own child, a niece, a nephew. If you choose your own child, choose your obnoxious one, the one like me. The one who won't back down, the one who will ask hard questions and stand up to the doctor and say that's not okay. The one who will work to find complete and honest information. But even with that said, I don't recommend you choose a spouse or child. While people closest to you might seem the best choice, remember what happened to Ariel Sharon. His sons were probably in deep grief because they were watching their father and the leader of their country be debilitated by irreversible damage done to his brain. Remember what happened to my mom. My dad was not able to think, to sort things out. He was suffering as much or more than mom. And since dad was the named proxy and not able to do his job, I took over. But what if my sister and brother had fought with me? Just like Ariel Sharon, my mom would have been sent in a comatose state to a nursing home with a feeding tube. Your proxy will listen and speak to clinicians if and only if you lose decisional capacity. My father never lost his as he was dying, and my mother-in-law, she never lost hers. They both gave us and their physicians the order they would no longer partake in curative care. They were not at all interested in that fight stuff. They both wanted to be at home with comfort care. My mother-in-law was a nurse and was clear she would have nothing to do with surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation when she heard she had cancer in both of her kidneys and in her spine. She went home to be in peace with friends and family and died 13 days later at the age of 93. My hero. So, you may be wondering who I've chosen as my proxy. My Hattie's name is Fallon. She is strong, smart, logical, calm, 34 years my junior, family by marriage, has read my care goals, can stand up to other family members and physicians, and be trusted to do for me what I want for me, not what others might want for me. So many of the frail and seriously ill get stuck in the ICU because family members demand, keep my mother alive, don't let my father die. Like my dad, they can't imagine life without the patient, even though the patient is in great pain with little or no functionality. This is because those family members are suffering themselves from grief over the loss, or shame, or guilt, or estrangement from the dying person. So what's going on here? They are using the ICU and our $3 trillion medical industrial complex as their last opportunity to make amends for themselves. You see, the caregivers and family members are often sicker than the sick person. Here's a little-known, very specific piece of guidance for choosing your proxy. Don't choose your granddaughter. Physicians who work with terminally ill patients say granddaughters tend to put their fingers in their ears and hear nothing, even in the face of facts delivered with compassion. Here are just 3 of the 10 qualities you want in your proxy. A person young enough and healthy enough to be around in the future. A person who can stand up to your family members who may not agree with your goals. A person who can negotiate with physicians to achieve your stated goals and be willing to fire a physician who doesn't listen. Take your time to sort this out and have a look in the program materials at the other qualities you will want. 15 years ago, an attorney did our first healthcare directive, and he just stuck my husband in as my proxy. I now know this is not the best idea. Once you choose a proxy, what do you do next? You tell everyone. Save yourself and all the people you love from crisis. Tell everyone who your proxy is and tell everyone how you want the last few years of your life to unfold. The more detail you provide and the more people you tell, the easier the future will be for everyone you love. It's time to take this taboo topic out of the closet and put it smack dab in the middle of our kitchen table. Imagine leaving a spouse, children, friends, family, nurses, and doctors to try to figure out how to care for you best. Why risk the chaos, heartache, struggle, pain, suffering, confusion, and disagreements that can arise? So step 4, the last step, is choose a proxy. And in doing so, you'll provide specific instructions to loved ones so they know what you want when you're no longer able to speak for yourself. With that, you'll find tremendous freedom and peace. A sweet, peaceful death will not come out of the natural flow of our lives in this 21st century. We all have to do 4 things. 1, accept that we will die. 2, understand the limits of medicine and get that medicine is too small up against the force of nature. 3, educate yourself about your healthcare choices. And 4, choose a proxy and provide specific instruction. So that's it. Answer the questions in the workbook, in the program materials, and then I want you to go have fun with the rest of your life. I say, now that you're ready to die, you're really ready to live. And living fully all the way to the end is an inside job, and it has little to do with doctors or medicine. Jackie Collins was told in 2009 that she had stage 4 breast cancer. She only told her 3 grown daughters. Between her diagnosis and when she died in 2015, she wrote 5 novels, traveled, and enjoyed her 6 grandchildren. 2 weeks before her death, she flew from Los Angeles to London to be on a television show and to tell her sister that she was dying. You see, her famous sister, Joan Collins, had no idea that Jackie was even sick. This is one of the last photos taken of her. 5 days before she died, she invited People magazine to come to her home for a final interview. She was 77 years old. Jackie Collins calmly embraced her short future. She took the gentle path. She stayed productive and then slipped away in peace. We have choices. No need to act like death is coming soon because we don't know. When you prepare for it, you can live like it'll never happen. Do you want to join me and face the music and dance all the way out? Yeah, I want to sing right along with Frank Sinatra. I did it my way, and you can too.